Good morning, everyone, and thanks for being here today for our webinar, Harnessing AI for Good in the Hyper-Digital Era, How Conversational AI Empowers Stakeholders, Personalizes Interactions, and Builds Trust. I'm Tracy Gardner, the Global Marketing Director at VLink Inc., a US-based IT solutions and staffing company, and your host for our tech webinar series. We'll introduce our panelists in just a few minutes, but first let's take a look at what we'll be covering in this half-hour webinar. We're going to delve into the transformative potential of conversational AI and discuss how to elevate the customer experience by delivering instant personalized support to customers 24/7. Why automating routine tasks will free up your team to focus on strategic initiatives. How to lower operational costs by reducing the need for a large customer service team. How data collection can help you analyze customer interactions to drive business decisions. And we'll talk about some real-world success stories showcasing the benefits of integrating conversational AI into your platforms. Our guest panelist, Josh Ross, is CEO of K-Launch. He has over 25 years of experience at the forefront of artificial intelligence applications and scaling high-growth communication technology brands. Josh has been featured as an industry thought leader and a visionary entrepreneur by leading global publications like CNBC, Fox Business Network, Forbes, and many more. Also joining us will be Gabe Martinez with VLink Inc., a strategist in the tech world who has worked with large Fortune 250 clients, especially in the fintech and healthcare space. Welcome to both of you. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having us, Tracy.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, before we dive in, guys, there's just a couple of housekeeping items to take care of for those of you in this session. Once we close it, you're welcome to stick around if you want to. You can leave if you have other things to do. I get it, but it's only a half hour. But we kind of call it the after party, so to speak, where you can engage and ask questions of our panelists. Of course, you can always put questions in the chat during the webinar, and we'll get to those as well. So, Josh, let's get started. We're so glad to have you here today. Thanks for joining us. You've been around AI for decades. It's definitely evolved. I would say, and I think many others would say, it's definitely growing at lightning speed. Talk about this for a minute.
Yeah, I mean, let's start with I think there's a lot out there, right, from an AI perspective, but we could start with the lack of true understanding. The term AI is being utilized virtually for everything today, from AI lawnmowers to AI medical devices to AI neural networks to AI marketing to conversational AI. So I was actually walking around a trade show floor recently where there was an AI fax company, not to take an AI fax company, but I thought, wow,
Exactly.
So it's been around for a long time in various forms, and it's really hit the hype cycle here, recently, and for good reason. I think there's a lot of great things coming from that. Many of those reasons, though, aren't fully understood by the general population. And we believe that we should truly focus on the education to help folks delineate fact from fiction while continuing to evolve around the art of the possible. There's so much possibility with this stuff. But if you go back in history, I think it was like 1955. You guys can fact check me on this, but yeah, it was Alan Newell and Herbert Simons who created a LT, a logic theorist program early on. That program eventually proved 38 of 52 theorems for Mathematica. But so it's been around a long, long time. But it wasn't until recently that we caught up with some of the theory with the technologies in the past few years, and the vast marketing engine got a hold of everything that's happening in this spectrum. And we got a hold of things of kind of the power of the possible with things like ChatGPT, and which I'm sure you all have heard of. And it wasn't until that businesses started to pay attention and understand to how this could dynamically shift and competitively drive business. So another thing that's interesting about this is, the waves of history and kind of how these things evolve. So there's the theory at first, there's the unknown, there's the marketing hype phase, there's the emergent technology gold rush where people just rush in and make as much money as they can. We saw this in the dot-com era. We saw this with the birth of the internet. Hundreds of companies get spun up. There's often message and market confusion, followed by the reality setting in. Where can these advancements actually go? And how are we going to see them positioned in businesses in order to take advantage of benefits and competitive advantages? So there's also a lot of terminology that gets thrown around, things like LLMs, large language models, which many of you may be familiar, generative AI, open AI, that's also a company name, platform LLMs. ML, machine learning, deep learning,
Hmm.
neural networks, NLP. So the general population, for the general population, the speed at which this is evolving is tough to keep up with. And my hope is that we can focus on the power and benefits of AI, and that all AI is not created equal, and helping folks understand that. And there's
Yeah,
undoubtedly going to be
right.
separation between those that are seeking immediate financial gain in this space, which happens in these evolutions, versus those that are deeply seated to understand and truly change the world for good with these technologies. So yes, it is rapidly advancing. There are vast differences in technologies and solutions, and we believe education is the key to unpacking it all.
I think you're right. And I would say, in so many ways, we are in that gold rush stage. And that's why we have these tech webinars. We're trying to educate people. Now, I know Josh, CEO of K-Launch, an AI company, powerful conversational AI platform. Start by telling us, you threw out some acronyms, LLM and that kind of thing. Talk about what conversational AI is and more about what your product does at K-Launch and how it's driving customer support in real time.
Yeah, everything we do at K-Launch is focused on omni-channel conversational AI for business. So, what is omni-channel conversational AI? Just a second here. So, it's across the broad spectrum of communication streams. So, every communication stream, being able to factor communications across that, and using AI capabilities, things like flow builders and so on and so forth, as well as like AI tools like what we have as HumanX. But we've created KBot Lightning and HumanX, which are a data-centric omnichannel conversational AI platform that helps organizations communicate more effectively with their constituents, their neighbors, their fans, their followers, through both
Mm,
process flows and private modeling capabilities. So inside of the HumanX experience, which is we developed our own private modeling. It will learn specific business processes about your domain knowledge and how your business operates, and speak on behalf of your most qualified and trained team members, regardless of the channel. So it doesn't matter what
mm,
channel you're in. And the platform crosses the spectrum of the entire business ecosystem. So it is a platform, not a tool. There's a difference. And so the
yeah.
platform crosses the entire spectrum of sales enablement, customer employee lifecycle nurturing, all the way down to operational efficiencies. And we've been able to do some really interesting and cool things for the community. We've connected over 1 million veterans to qualify them for benefits, to transition them out of the military into private
That's awesome.
sector. We've been able to do in the nonprofit space. We've helped raise millions of dollars of funds with these technologies, telling the stories of the nonprofits that I think need to be told as they grow and expand. We've delivered over 4 million meals through our technology and helping food assistance programs. We've aided in exceeding 743,000 social program qualifications. This is a cool stat for me.
Yeah.
We've led leading to notable 15.2% increase in transitioning people out of social programs with things like wraparound
Wow.
services, mental health, job assistance. And so an executive asked me, how do you track that? Because we can track every view, impression, link, click, and video piece of content that's inside of the orchestration of the platform. So we're tracking their engagements as they go through there to understand this data on the back end.
Yeah.
We qualified folks for government assistance programs through the ease of our technology, and we've engaged over 654 million interactions that helped over 6.3 million patients across health plan, payer, and provider initiatives. So, yeah, the technology's there in spectrum, and so the breadth is pretty broad as far as what we've been able to do and how we've been able to connect and help others with the technology. But we're certainly making an impact, and that's what we want to do: advance human
Yeah.
interaction,
And
impacting the world.
it's great to hear the good things because you hear the negative things a lot. And Gabe, I want to bring you in. You're a strategist in the tech world, working with large Fortune 250s. Josh talked about so much good. What are you hearing about what these companies are doing with conversational AI, just in general?
Yeah, Tracy, and again, thanks for having me. And Josh, always great to hear from you. Josh made a lot of points there. One being that they're using AI right now in so many corners, right? So many different
Yeah.
spaces, from chatbots to communication to operational efficiency. But to get to your point, of course, Fortune 250s are using AI. Most of our booming stock market right now is coming from the current AI craze, right? Microsoft's shares are soaring, Nvidia is on a tear, And anyone who's anywhere near these titans of AI industry are seeing their stocks pump up bigger than any moment in human history, right? And I say good, of course. This isn't the internet bubble of the 90s, right? People are going to make bad products, sure, but they know now that this time they're under the watchful eye of the people. Think about it. The average consumer is perhaps 10 times more aware, I would say, of what's happening in the world today and than they did back in the 90s, right? So if you're a company currently adopting AI and aren't taking an ethical approach or a people first perspective, you got to know that people are coming for you, right?
Yeah.
Doing good by your customers should be your top priority right now. And
Yeah.
Tracy, not to keep ranting on here, but this is a harnessing AI for good episode. So I thought I'd skip the kind of typical conversation around AI usage because we know AI in business is going to make your company more efficient. We all get that, right? And companies like K-Launch do it better than others, but will AI positively impact society? Will people lose jobs? How's my mom going to learn AI if she can't really send an email, right? And based on what I've heard from Josh and others in the space, the answers are kind of skewing positive. Plus, my mom will tell AI to send her emails from now on. It's a brighter future already.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. Always. You're always a fun one to talk to, Gabe. Hey, let's pause real quick for just I always like to do polls during these webinars because it's kind of fun to see people. It's interactive. You guys can vote. We're going to put a poll on your screen. Let me know if you can't see it. Everybody can vote. The question should be there on your screen now. Go ahead and launch it, Taryn. Taryn's behind the scenes helping us. The question is, how familiar are you with conversational AI technologies? And you can vote. Everybody can vote. You've adopted? You're using? You're very familiar, somewhat familiar, neutral, or not familiar. So everybody, take a second to vote. Hosts and panelists, we can't vote. Josh, Gabe, sorry, we can't vote. But hopefully, here in a second, we'll be able to close the poll. We'll give you guys a few seconds to vote, and we'll close it out. And hopefully, we'll be able to see the results here on the screen. So, Taryn, are we going to be able to show the results on the screen? There we go. Okay. Josh and Gabe, hopefully you guys can see those as well. How familiar are you? Most people have adopted or are using it. Josh, Gabe, talk about these results. Do they surprise you? What do you think? There's a good number of people here. What do you think of this?
Yeah, I think that it's interesting for sure. I mean, adopted and using 39% of the folks think that adopted in using. I would wonder what forms of AI that they're actually utilizing. That would be interesting to what forms of AI, because back to my point earlier, I think AI, the broad term is so broad that it can encapsulate a lot. And so the fact that people are very familiar, somewhat familiar, those are all good numbers and polls coming back in. But I think, I'm a little shocked that there's that many folks that have adopted and are actively using the technology. That's great.
Yeah. Gabe, you surprised by anything there?
Yeah, well, actually, no. Mainly because I did a bunch of research beforehand, and it suggested that corporations around the world are adopting AI. A tune of 75% of companies are adopting AI in some fashion or another. But to Josh's point, it can be a chatbot. It can be using ChatGPT to write, your letter to your friend, right? I mean, it could be 1,000 different ways of AI usage, but it is entrenching itself into kind of the fabric of society.
Yeah. Josh, the reality is these products, these AI products, something like, I think you guys, K-Launch with K-Lightning, HumanX, conversational AI can be really helpful and good for an organization. You've touched on some of that, more than just being good for the bottom line, but good for both, but, good as well, helpful.
Yeah, I think it relates down to communication as the fabric of all business and all society, like how we communicate, how we interact, how we connect with one another. And so I think, anything that can bring power to that experience and humanity of what we say is advancing human interaction, how we connect with one another, how we engage with one another, how do we make sure that we're listening and understanding each other as we go through, whether it's business or with consumers and so on and so forth. So there's so much good. I know there's been a lot talked about with AI and all the the proliferating aspects of like where this is going and all the things that could happen with AI. But I think there's so many great benefits of being able to communicate effectively and connect with people in meaningful ways where you can track their engagements, understand their interactions, and then help personalize those experiences that they have from a customer perspective or even employee perspective. You think of like these technologies can be used both externally and internally. So in the internal phase, you might have employees that are wanting to use this type of technology to ask about processes internal to the organization or how to train. They need training in specific areas, or they have an HR question and they want to learn more about the policies and procedures of the organization. Typically, historically, you'd have to go back and talk to your HR, resources, but these tools, we're seeing adoption of these tools both internally and externally and moving the society forward in a positive way of connecting people.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I want to remind everybody, if you have questions, put them in the chat because we're here to help you answer questions. We want this to be an interactive session. We can also meet with you afterward, but definitely put them in the chat. I haven't seen any questions come through yet. A panelist and guests can see those questions when you put them in there. So let's talk too about stakeholders. Either one of you can take this, both of you. What do you tell stakeholders who are concerned about the privacy and security of user data in the conversational AI applications? I know that's always a concern.
Yeah, I mean, I can jump in and Gabe, feel free to chime in here, but I think that one of the things about the broad term of AI and the broad use of AI, which is kind of what the poll indicates in my assessment, is that the term AI is so broad and it's used so broadly there. But I think like the capabilities and the security elements are something that are often misunderstood as folks get into this space as well. So finding just AI technologies that actually have depth of security and encryption and are fully certified in all of the security compliance standards associated with what would be necessary to be able to dive into these conversations with folks, both internally and externally, and to source active data. So I would encourage people to do their homework and their research when it comes to looking at different variant platforms. Obviously, we work in the healthcare space as well, HIPAA compliant chatbot space with our platform, providing chatbots that are specifically built for HIPAA compliance. And there are elements of that, like whether it's the HIPAA space, whether it's the financial space, the security aspect, both from a business perspective and an internal PI perspective, personal information perspective. Those are really important things to understand and make sure that you have in place as you launch these technologies.
For sure. And we have a question. Taryn has written it here. How is the platform used to remove friction? Does it personalize conversations?
Yeah, great question.
I think they might be talking.
Yeah. So Kbot Lightning and HumanX, the conversational streams, as far as connecting, you can connect through various intakes, and that omnichannel experience can come through a text exchange, can come through a web bot. So what we're doing to minimize the friction is by having persistent data across all of those interactions. And I don't know if that term resonates or if you fully understand what I'm saying, but if you are an organization using the chatbot, for example, as a tool, you would have a chatbot that's different from your CRM solution, that's different from all your other technologies. What we do with our technology is overlay those technologies. So the chatbot on the web, you would have the same experience on the chatbot on the web as you would have in a messaging stream from text. We would know who you are and have persistent data across all of those conversational spectrums. And I think that's something that sets us apart as an organization and helps reduce the friction, because one of the things in personalization is that you've all seen, like, the texting capabilities too. That's really been hot with text messaging and text marketing. And there's nothing more frustrating than receiving a message from a brand who doesn't have a personal understanding of what you're looking for or what you may want their engagement or interaction. So if you've communicated with them on their website, for example, in an e-commerce format, and then you jump over to a text stream and received a marketing attribute from them, and they don't know who you are and they don't know what your interests are, or what you like or what you don't like, or maybe helping guide you in the right path, those can all be things that are frustrating and create friction. So we try to reduce that friction by having persistent data across those streams.
Absolutely. We have another question. How should we think about the instances of AI making up data of report of AI making up data or reporting satirical stories as truth.
Yeah,
That's kind
I
of
mean,
interesting. Yeah.
I'll let Gabe chime in here, but I'm passionate about this stuff, so apologize, Gabe. But
No,
I
no, no,
feel
it's
like
fine.
I think like with the way that generative AI is, again, there are variant differences of technologies, right? When we use the term AI, they're not all created equal. So whether some are relating to their AI experience as a chatbot, some are relating to their AI experience writing a paper, as Gabe mentioned earlier, using ChatGPT or something like that. As organizations get more involved with generative AI solutions, and they're trying to figure out a way to kind of cut the corner and use these technologies to communicate with their customers, their fans, followers, neighbors, constituents. I would just caution the use of those broad open AI type of environments in those scenarios for that purpose, because it is developing technology. One of the things that's unique about what we're doing with our Human X is that it's only learning on the information that's specific to your business. So it's not going to be pulling broad information from online. So therefore, like the theatrical aspect of conversation that may take place if you ask it some random, question or having bias, all these things, that those can be minimized by using a closed AI environment. And that's not all understood in the market. Well, but there are definite variant differences between like a generative solution that's out there and using that. I was at a healthcare conference actually speaking, and we were having a conversation about this very thing in the healthcare space, using like generative AI for healthcare responses, and that becomes really difficult because if you complain of a heart issue and all of a sudden the AI comes back and says, "Well, go get an ice pack," well, that's a problem, right? Because it's off topic with what you're asking and what you're acting on. So I would just say that there are, again, differences in the technologies, using a private type of LLM environment, large language model environment, or an environment that you train on your specific with reinforcement tactics, you own AI. That's going to give you, you're also going to own the data, which is really a critical aspect. It's going to give you the opportunity to ensure that the messaging that's going back and forth is messaging that is warranted and that is something that you're approving of in your organization.
Would make a huge difference. Gabe, we
Josh, I
actually
was
have a
going to
question for
say,
you.
hold on,
Go
let me
ahead.
just add to what
And
Josh was saying.
yep,
Just a
go
short
ahead, Gabe.
little tidbit here. I was going to say exactly the same thing, Josh, not as eloquently as you put it, but something similar. But to add to it, I personally hate when companies spend millions of dollars trying to build something internally that's completely out of their wheelhouse, right? Especially when you have companies like K-Launch and experts like Josh who can take on the big chunk of heavy lifting. They'll try to DIY AI, and I think that is a bad approach, because if you're looking at this kind of people first perspective, they're going to spend a ton of money. At the end of the year, they're going to wind up in a position like, let's say, like Facebook did, unfortunately, with spending on VR, for example, and not necessarily being ready for that moment. You have to be ready for the moment, but also work with the experts that know how to handle that technology.
You absolutely good point, Gabe. And we have a question for you, Gabe, that was put into the chat. As a strategist, what ways are you implementing AI for clients and insight building?
In insight building, so there's a few ways, right? I think it's important that you distinguish between AI, again, as a tool and as a platform. In this case, if you're building insight and you have a platform already built out internally, you can use the data from your platform to better dictate how you approach your clients, how you approach your customers, for example. But if you're using it as a tool, it is a great way to search and gather data. It's a great way to better express your communication, set up kind of automation features, things like that. It helps with marketing and sales in that fashion. So it really depends on how you're using AI, right? If you're a bigger organization and you're using AI internally with a big platform, you're going to want to use that data more effectively. In this case, if you have it as a tool, set up automation to really build out your communication.
Absolutely. Anything to add to that, Josh?
No, I think you hit it, man. I think it's think he's on point on that.
Well, let's do another quick poll, because it's always interesting to see if this is a good one. I want to throw it up there on the screen and make sure you guys can see it. Let me make sure it's up there before I ask the question. Taryn, there we go. Okay, what benefits do you believe conversational AI can bring to your organization? It's multiple choice. Do you think enhanced customer service, operational efficiency, cost savings, better data insights, or increased engagement? I know you two probably have your ideas about how this will turn out, but we'll see here in a second. So everybody vote, and we can close the poll, take a few minutes to look through here and think about it, and then we can publish those results, Taryn, as soon as you get a chance, and we'll kind of discuss those real quick in the few minutes we have left. And then if anybody wants to stick around, please feel free to stick around after the webinar and ask questions of Josh or Gabe. We'll stick around for a few minutes afterwards. So Taryn, do we have some results of the poll there? Okay, there we go. So enhanced customer service, kind of a tie. Look at that, with operational efficiency. Well, actually, no, better data insights. So, and increased engagement. So better data insights. That probably is not surprising to you, is it, Josh?
No, that poll is not surprising. I think the first poll just had, confusion around the broad nature of AI. But I think, like, when it comes to customer service, that's been talked about a ton with AI. Operational efficiencies have been talked about a lot. Cost savings, obviously, you hear these stories with Gabe mentioned earlier with the layoffs or whatever, maybe that people have concerns around what is that with cost savings, but also better data insights is really that's the pinnacle of where all this is going. I mean, like, the ability to have conversational interactions across multiple streams and to be able to have them autonomously happening in personalized format with data that is accentuating out or coming out of that in real time. And it's the most purified form of data because it's directly from your consumer, fan, follower, constituent, neighbor, employee. That data is active in real format. And if you can capture that through an omni-channel type of experience and have all of that data boiling up in real time, executives can make much better decisions on the future of their companies and help their employees and help their customers. And I think that's not a shocking piece for me, because I think that people realize what the power is here in just AI. So beyond just, I don't want to say it's table stakes to have omni-channel kind of AI experience, because I think that's still forward leaning. But I do think that the data attributes are the most prominent aspects of where this technology is most powerful.
Absolutely. Any last thoughts, Gabe, as well? We've got a couple minutes left.
Yeah, Tracy, I'm happy that everyone on the poll was so spot on, but I'm sure that most watching here are all interested in AI for the most part, right? They really hit this right on the head. If you really go down the channel here, starts with better data insights, then on to operational efficiency, which leads to better customer service, which in turn causes increased engagement, right? And all around cost savings. That's exactly what you want in your organization. If you can use AI to funnel down that path, you're in the green for sure.
Yeah, and it's so good, it's so good to talk to you two today, and especially Josh, to hear a company like K-Launch doing so much good, being able to get people off of benefits that maybe aren't needed, being able to help people that need the benefits, like the veterans and things. So, using AI for good is great. I love talking about the positive things because there's so much negative in this world. So, it's been a great day in hearing from both of you. Thanks both of you for being here today. Any last thoughts from either of you before we close it out? And then, of course, you guys will stick around for a few minutes afterward. And anybody who wants to leave can jump out, and anybody who wants to stay can stick around and ask some questions.
Well, I just want to thank you, Tracy and Gabe and VLink, for putting this on. I think it's really important to educate folks on these technologies. And while, I've been an entrepreneur for the last 25 plus years, I've seen a lot of evolution over time. I've seen a lot of things happening in the space, and just to see where we're at as an organization and helping others, I think is really meaningful to us as an organization, but also just seeing the technology and how that technology can impact broadly. The technology can impact all of us for good. And the work that we can do using technology, everything that we're presented with, whether it's the internet, whether it's any of these things that have happened over time could be used for good or for bad, right? Like there's an element of ethical nature for humans that you want to, it can be used either way. But to see folks adopting the technology to be able to help veterans move forward, to be able to help patients interact more effectively, to be able to help those in need for food insecurities. I mean, that's really where our heart's at. And while we focus on, there's a broad range of these technologies and their deployment. I just am looking forward to where this is going to go in the future. So thank you both for
yeah. Our pleasure. We'll definitely continue the conversation. And thanks to all of you for joining us today. Our time's up. So if you want to stick around, Josh and Gabe will stick around. We'll be here for a few minutes. And if not, have a great day. And thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you all.
All right, Josh and Gabe, just stay there. People are hopping. So did Josh jump out?
No, I'm still here.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. Good. I see that there are, okay, I was like, oh, Josh, I don't see you. I do see some people are jumping, but some people have stayed. Taryn, I'm not sure how to open up for other people, that we can see other people. If they stick around, they want to ask a question. I don't know if we enabled that or if they need to ask it in the chat if people stick around. Do you know, Taryn?
We have question, Tracy. I'm just putting.
We have a question. Okay. How do you select the service for your organization? Josh, how do you select the service for your organization? That's the question. It's in the queue.
There are variant software, like there's software tiers. So you can start with like a basic element of a couple flows, a few flows on that solution, or you can go into more of a pro or enterprise license. I hope that's answering your question related to how you might get started in that. Maybe Gabe, you have something you can share that might shed some light.
Josh, they asked, they're piloting 3 services right now: Copilot, ChatGPT, and Gemini.
Gotcha.
The difference between the 3, if you consider Copilot versus a ChatGPT and Copilot are going to be very similar, right? Just because, again, both Microsoft backed. And Gemini is coming from Google. I mean, it really depends on what you need it for, right? And ultimately, whether or not you have the capital to have, a platform behind you is probably going to be a better bet all around, right? Whereas Copilot, ChatGPT, Gemini, they're going to be more for communication purposes, more on the marketing sales side. Whereas a platform like a K-Launch will help you more operationally. I think it all depends on your scale.
I didn't get the question there, so thanks for clearing that up. But I think like the difference between like a individualized AI solution that like a Copilot, like helping me as an individual versus the organization having an external, interaction, right? Depending upon what solution you might select. So I think I'm with Gabe on that. If learning more about your application, what you're trying to accomplish with your AI experiences would help us give, a better answer there probably.
Okay. Anybody else have questions? I know we have a number of 16 people have stuck around. I'm not sure if who everybody is, but we'll find out later. But if there's any questions, please ask them. I know these 2 are here. They're dedicated to answering your questions and making sure you get all the answers you want. So I guess nobody else has any questions. So if that's it,
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, Gabe.
Yes, please, Josh. This question is for you. Beyond K-Launch and KBot Lightning, because I know that's your main platform in terms of AI usage. Outside of that, what is your go-to in terms of, let's say, communication or just having fun? Because there's a lot of fun to be had with AI.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I love so I have this. I'm sure you guys are familiar, but this app that's on my phone, it's called Nova, which there's 1,000 different apps that are associated with AI that are out there on your phone. But it actually has all of the bots built directly into which they just coupled all of the bots on one. So you can go around between ChatGPT 4, 4.0. You can do the image generator, the Vision, the Llama 3, the Google Gemini. So it's got all these apps on there, and you can go back and forth. So whether it's generating imagery that for a specific purpose or something like that. I use these technologies all the time. I actually own a boat dealership in Fort Myers, Florida, and we use our AI technologies to be able to generate some of the promotional imagery that's associated with our selling of boats. So, and then the boat dealerships also uses cable lighting technology to talk about a sales process of a boat. So like a certain size boat, for example, if I had a question about that. But I'm intrigued by where this is all going, Gabe. I mean, this is amazing. It's amazing technology when you look at all of the things. Now, there's a lot of things related to imagery and stuff like that that they're still crafting and working on to get more perfected. But the fact that we've kind of catapulted from where we were 2 years ago to where we are today, it's exciting.
Yeah, it
Oh yeah.
is. It's
I
going
can
to be
picture a
exciting to
world.
see.
I can picture a world one day where, let's say at your boat dealership, you're creating commercials that are like movie scale level productions because AI can do that for you now, you know?
Yeah.
Like at the end of the Titanic or something, like
Exactly.
Leonardo
Yeah.
DiCaprio.
Yeah.
You know,
Or a
like
Michael Bay
cost
movie.
savings.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
cost savings though for deals like a dealership, a car dealership, or a boat dealership. The cost savings is like boats. We want to have like aerial photography, and we want to have things flying around a boat or experiences that are happening. That's expensive. So when you look at like cost savings for these technologies to be able to take the information, even if we throw a drone up, capture some imagery, and then throw it into an AI, kind of blender, it can come up with some really cool attributes associated with that footage that we just cut without having to have a team. We used to spend thousands of like tens of thousands of dollars on video production, on the whole crew to be there. Our team, we sponsored a lot of professional fishermen. And so this last year they won the grouper challenge that was in Fort Myers, Florida. Well, we had a video crew that was out with them all day on that. Well, that was 2 years ago, actually. So the last year we actually had someone just with an iPhone, and they did the whole experience.
Wow.
And they used tools, interactive tools and visual tools to be able to pull that information together and create that same. Now it's not it's not the quality that you would have if like you're looking at 4D, top high end quality, but we were able to cut some costs there and still produce a video that was really highly followed and liked and that kind of thing. So pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool. That's very cool. Well, we still have some people in here, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat because we're going to close it out here. I know Josh is a busy man. Gabe's busy, got to get to work. So we certainly appreciate everybody sticking around. And you guys were great. Again, thank you so much, Josh and Gabe. It doesn't look like we have any more questions. So thanks again. We'll try to do it again. And we really appreciate all of you joining us today. And
thanks so much.
we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.